Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/am I the asshole, where the affair partner of OP's wife had the audacity to demand him money. Let's begin. My wife cheated on me. Posted by Reddit user Prestigious Park.
Hey, I need to get something off my chest. A few months ago, I found out my wife was cheating on me. It hit me like a ton of bricks: betrayal, disbelief, heartbreak, you name it. We had been married for years, built a life together, and I never imagined something like this could happen to us. At first, I didn't want to believe it. I brushed off the signs, made excuses for her behavior, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then one day, I found evidence, texts, emails, undeniable proof of her infidelity. My world came crashing down around me. I confronted her, and she confessed to everything. The tears, the apologies, they meant nothing to me. How could someone I loved and trusted do this to me? The pain was unbearable. For weeks, I wrestled with my emotions, trying to make sense of it all. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything but the betrayal that consumed me. And then, one day, I made a decision. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies. I filed for divorce. It wasn't easy, the legal battles, the emotional turmoil, but it was necessary. I couldn't continue living a lie, pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. I deserved better, and so did she. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I found solace in the support of friends and family. They stood by me through the darkest days, reminding me that I was not alone. And slowly but surely, I began to heal. Today, I stand before you as a survivor of heartbreak, a man who refused to let betrayal define him. I've learned to let go of the pain and anger, to forgive not for her sake, but for mine. And though the scars may never fully heal, I'm grateful for the lessons they've taught me. So here's to new beginnings, to finding closure in the midst of chaos, and to never losing hope in the face of adversity. Life may knock us down, but it's how we rise again that truly defines us. Thanks for listening.
OP, I'm sorry you're hurting, but it's refreshing to see a man act like a man. Too many of the younger generation is poisoned by the modern society's views on feminism, turning the young ones into hoes and simps. Stay strong and keep moving forward. And now for today's second story. Will I be the asshole if I told my kids that their recently deceased mother cheated on me? Posted by Reddit user Constant Space.
The wound's still a bit fresh. A month ago, my wife of 22 years tragically died in a car crash. Cynthia was one of those drivers that loved to stare into her phone, and unfortunately, this bad habit caught up with her in the last week of January. I was pretty devastated when the police showed up at my door and told me she had a fatal accident, and I wanted to honor her somehow. At the time of the accident, I had no idea she was having an affair. The last 4 or 5 months, I did notice she was pulling away and our intimacy decreased, but I thought this was just something that happened to couples after 20 years, so I didn't pay much mind to it. But, at least from what she told me, Cynthia started to get into writing. She was constantly on her laptop, typing away at all hours. She told me she was working on a fantasy book, hopefully the first of a series. When I asked more, she said it was about a fantasy world where a super advanced human race appears and interacts with orcs and elves and magic with laser guns and high tech. It sounded very cool, and Cynthia promised as soon as she had a first draft she liked, she would let me read it. I decided to honor her by getting the draft of her book and hiring a writer to clean it up and publish it with a novelty press. I got on her laptop and, no book, no sign at all. I opened her Chrome, thinking she might have written it in Google Drive, and saw a bunch of pinned tabs. One was a Facebook Messenger tab with a ton of her messages with a man, John. I have no idea who John is, never met him, but they talked about meeting up, exchanged photos, everything. The last message John sent her was 2 days before Cynthia's accident, the two saying they loved each other, and him saying he was going on a business trip to Germany. The messages between Cynthia and John have shown they had met up at the house more than once, so I already had the locks changed. Not sure if John is back yet, and frankly I don't care if he is. I was thoroughly devastated. She did have a Google Drive tab, but in her drive wasn't a book about elves against Vulcans, but a shared document with John. The document was a plan her and John drafted on how to divorce me, turn the kids against me, and take our home and as much money as possible. One thing she noted was she has been taking money, a few hundred a month, and putting it in a separate account. I got the bank thing sorted out, and the money in the kids' college account. I've also been going to therapy twice a week now. It is hard to be mad at someone dead, especially someone everyone else in your life is grieving and praising as a wonderful wife and mother. I have asked my therapist if I should tell my kids about what Cynthia has done and what she was planning to do. My therapist cautioned me about this. He said that they just lost their mother, and being told this would be condemning her memory, damnatio memoriae. Maybe now is not the time, but I think eventually would be a time for my kids to know. Now for OP's first update. Some things have happened since last time. To answer some questions, I have gone to the bank and got control of Cynthia's account, and transferred the money into a savings account for the kids. Also, my kids already suspected. Tuesday night, my eldest, Michelle, said her and my son, Jason, had something to say to me. They sat me down in the living room and Michelle said, "We think Mom was cheating on you." They both said they weren't sure, but it was eating them up seeing me in extreme grief the past month, and they thought I should hear what they suspect. They brought up how Cynthia was always away, and when she was at home, she would say strange observations about me. Stuff like, "Isn't it weird your dad's working late this week?" This is one of those seeds Cynthia mentioned in her document that she wanted to plant in the kids. Michelle said her suspicions went high the week before the accident, when she got home from school and saw a strange jacket on the coat hook by the front door. It wasn't any jacket Jason or I had, so she was very suspicious about it. I told both my kids that I didn't tell them, but I found evidence on their mom's computer when I was looking for the book she said she was writing. Michelle wanted to see the evidence, but Jason said he doesn't want to think or talk about Mom for a while. I shared the info with Michelle after she insisted. She already suspected her mom and was ready for it. It feels good to now have someone close that can talk to me about this beyond my therapist. Yesterday afternoon, I was home alone when I heard someone jiggling the back door's knob. I went to the door and saw a man I never saw before trying to use a key on the lock. I told him to step back from the door and he almost jumped. I opened the door a crack and asked him who he was and what he was doing in my backyard. It was John, Cynthia's affair partner. He told me that he worked with my wife, and he just got back from a trip and saw Cynthia died on social media, and him and Cynthia were starting a business. They had a business bank account with his investment money in the business, and he was wondering if I could help him get the business funds transferred over. I looked him straight in the eye and said I was at the bank and Cynthia didn't have an extra business account, and I had no idea what he was talking about. John also said that he wanted to check my wife's things for any sensitive business documents. I said he was a stranger and wasn't welcome in my home, especially since he tried to enter without permission. John looked defeated but did suggest he would consult with a lawyer about his sensitive business documents and business funds. And now, for OP's second update. Had to clean up some situations. Just remembered this existed, so I'd pop into update. 1. Some people were upset with my comment about my wife's bad texting habit catching up with her. Have to admit, emotions were, are and probably still will be high for quite a while regarding her. It was pretty callous to say, I admit. 2. The locks were changed long before John showed up, when I saw based on their conversations that he was at the house several times. Also, the back door is in the same room as the home office, so of course I could hear someone trying to open it. 3. I've had a credit check done on Cynthia and checked with all local banks. I got the only account she had. Then going through our financials for the last year and there were several withdrawals by her, a few hundred here or there a month, which it appears were deposited into the getaway account. The getaway account did have an extra approximate $2,000 in it versus what she took out. Could be John's money. Can't be sure. 4. Cynthia hasn't worked in 2 years. We reached a level of financial stability to where Cynthia wanted to retire early and focus on being a fantasy writer. No idea where she met John, and honestly, it's beyond the point of caring right now. 5. Didn't recognize John from the photos because most of the shots were not facially focused, sorry to say. 6. I did take some advice and hired a private investigator to investigate John. He is a 40-year-old married carpenter, father of 3. Lots of people suggested I destroy his marriage or sue him, but honestly this whole ordeal has me exhausted. I am just happy to have Michelle and Jason with me. 7. Still going to counseling every week and the days are getting better. Now for the update. In Cynthia and John's master plan, one of their ideas to alienate my children from me was to create a narrative of me cheating. They put screenshots of various escorts from some sort of website in the document, saying they could easily pay one to claim I was sleeping with her. Cynthia picked a rather large woman who looked like she had some rough years and seemed gleeful in the idea of making the children think I slept with that woman over her. Surprise, Sunday night, who was knocking at the door but that woman. She immediately tried to cause a scene and tried to make the adulterous claims, but I simply said, "Did John last name send you?" And she immediately left without a word. John called me later that night and said he wanted his investment money and he knew how to hurt me. I told him we were on a recorded line and he was silent before saying wrong number and hanging up. I might need to start looking at a restraining order now.
And then, we have this excellent comment by Reddit user BonM42.
You should just call him out. Why let him continue this charade? It's disrupting your peace. Just tell him, I saw the file. I know everything. That's how I knew you sent the escort. Although what purpose it serves now, besides pissing me off enough I tell your wife about the affair, I don't know. I have the evidence saved. My kids know their mother was cheating. If you keep pursuing this, I will take you to court, press charges and sue you for harassment, threatening bodily harm and alienation of affection. Don't try me again.
Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.